right, what's up, everybody? Good to see you. Welcome back to New York City. We're finally back from Miami. I was there for about 2 weeks. It was an awesome trip. Even though it's pretty freezing cold out, I am happy to be back in New York City. So we'll get started in just a minute. It's been pretty busy, but busy is good, as they say. Thanks so much for joining. I see Cosmo, Triple G, Alan, thank you so much. Professor Dario. Spent a lot of time in Little Buenos Aires in Miami, which was a blast. Awesome time. There, 72nd Street. Lots of interesting things happening. GGNYC, what's going on? Indeed, we are back in New York. John says 9 days until the new year. Yeah, and it's seems like we got the market volatility into the end of the year. We have a little bit of a sell-off overnight too. We'll talk about it. But I really want to check out all of the holiday stuff here. As always, we're back on 57th Street, Billionaires Row. Lots of tourists out today. I was pretty surprised when I was down in Florida by just the sheer amount of people every day, either in Wynwood and Brickell. I mean, it was really rocking there. It was an awesome time. Also, a lot of Canadians too, which is pretty cool. Yeah, DC 322, that's right. We did have an interest rate cut. I should say another interest rate cut. All right, we'll get started in a minute. Give me a second. Man, is it cold out? Freezing. Anyway, if you guys can hear us and if we're streaming in 1080p, just go ahead and give a thumbs up in the chat. And we'll go ahead and get started shortly. Once again, thank you all for joining. And welcome back to New York City.
Pointing at persons of the Constitution by scumbags colluding in action.
Cameron, thank you so much for your very nice $10 donation. This is, hey Tom, how was the flight back? Flight back was awesome, but it was delayed. Now, the Miami airport was unbelievably packed, which, I mean, to be expected, right? Because of the holiday season. It is the Hanukkah and Christmas season, so everything is pretty packed. But I think we'll go ahead and get started, everybody. So good evening and welcome back to Walks in Wall Street. It is a beautiful Sunday night here in New York City yet again. We're on the corner of 5th Avenue and 57th Street. It's pretty busy traffic. Things are backed up. The holiday season is in full swing, and the market is in what I would like to call correction mode or some volatility. Now, the last time we were in New York, we talked about a potential profit-taking scenario on Wall Street because it's really been a banner year. It's been an amazing year for equities. Anybody who's had pretty much any exposure to the stock market, the old saying is, a rising market tends to lift all boats. So even really crummy companies kind of outperformed this year too. We had a little bit of a ramping up with some small caps into the end of the year. So with that, having a record year, money managers, hedge funds, and the big wigs on Wall Street usually like to defer taxes a year out. So what I said is, you'll probably see some sort of a sell-off early Q1 as managers lock in those gains to kind of kick that tax burden down the line 1 year. But it seems like there's been an awful lot of selling over the last 2 weeks. We had a record amount of selling on the institutional side, probably significant profit taking into the end of the year, which is normal. Also, we have some geopolitical events which we'll talk about, and we had yet another FOMC meeting where Fed Chair Jerome Powell cut interest rates yet again and pretty much declared a victory. We'll see if that is spoken too soon. Although what I will say, a lot of people are critical of Fed Chair Powell. I would consider myself one of those people, but I think we do need to give credit where credit is due. I mean, I don't think anybody wants the job of Fed Chair after 2 back-to-back administrations of just unbelievable, monstrous government spending. So I think he's done a pretty good job with what he was dealt. So the hand that he was dealt, he's made the best of it, frankly put. Many people are debating soft landing, hard landing, no landing. I think the landing has been pretty smooth over the last year and a half. I mean, wouldn't you say? Unemployment here in the United States of America is at all-time record lows, or I should say near lows. We have high-flying stock markets and the like. So I think he's done pretty good with what he was dealt. Also, if we do a complete look back, as we're standing here outside of the GM building, inflation peaked in the United States in terms of CPI at about 9.1%, right? We've gotten all the way just briefly under 3%. Now, we haven't hit the 2% Fed target yet, but I think we'll get there over time. Speaking of inflation, not to kind of throw out all these topics all at once, one of the main things that I don't think enough people are paying attention to as it relates to inflation is China. If you look at what's going on in China right now, which we've been reviewing and covering and talking about almost to the point of ad nauseum on the channel, China's in a really, really big issue here. The real estate crisis in China is, I would say, the equivalent of their 2008 right now. The PBOC is really throwing everything they got to prop up the markets, and China is in deflation, right? Things are not going well there. So I think that's going to mean more, let's just say, accommodative policy from the PBOC, and I think that's going to be very, very bullish long-term for a global liquidity rebound. So I think that this bull market still has legs in it, significant amount of legs, but you will have corrections and sell-offs along the way. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and say hello to everybody we have in the audience here. Once again, we're standing right outside of the Plaza Hotel here on 5th Avenue. I see Lee. This is Tom. Can I get a shout out for my friend Mary? Mary, good to see you. And thanks so much for watching. Hopefully you're watching in a much warmer environment than what I'm walking around in. I think it's about maybe 20 degrees in New York City tonight. It's freezing. And coming from Miami, Florida, it was funny, Lee, because I had an afternoon flight. So I flew out, I think, at 4 o'clock, but the flight was delayed. And in the morning, I was hanging out in North Beach. It was like 75 degrees. I was getting coffee, hanging out with a friend, and then when I landed, there was snow flurries in New York. So, but I'm happy to be back. Jonathan from Florida says, welcome back. Oh, Jonathan, by the way, when I got back to my office, which is right behind the GM building right here, I got an awesome package. I got a ton of mail from a lot of you guys. So thank you to everybody who sent me holiday gifts, Christmas gifts. I really do appreciate it. You guys don't need to send me anything, but I do appreciate the gifts. They are on my desk. So Jonathan from Florida, thank you. That was pretty nice to come back to. Also, iPadea. I believe you sent me a really, really cool pen. which I will be using and taking around on my appointments. So thanks everybody that mailed me stuff to my office. I really appreciate it. New England crypto, what's going on? New England crypto, we got Bitcoin sitting right at the 50-day moving average right now, sitting quite literally on it. I think we've broken below 95,000. Juan Vasquez, cheers. Let's cross the street and then we'll probably just do a quick loop around. This is the Sherry Netherland Hotel. Usually the internet's not too good, but we might as well take a quick pass by it. Vincent, what's going on? Says, good evening, Tom. Stay warm and welcome home. Maybe it'll be a white Christmas this year in New York. You never know. There was a reported 2 inches of snow fell in New York City. Here's the Sherry Netherland, which is a stunning, stunning hotel. Obviously, we talk about the story of Jesse Livermore, arguably the greatest stock market operator of all time, which if anybody's looking for like a stocking stuffer gift, I would purchase reminiscences of a stock operator based on the life of Jesse Livermore. Adam, what's going on? Merry Christmas to you. God bless. City's looking beautiful, though. Plaza Hotel, Steinway Building, 157. Central Park Tower, 220 Central Park South. Dog says, hello, Tom, watching from warm Cancun, enjoying the walk and talk. Fantastic. Fantastic. I think I'll get used to the cold. I just got to suck it up. Not a big fan of it, but I definitely do have to suck it up nonetheless. Carlos' gorgeous buildings. What's going on? Now, another thing I wanted to point out is we've started to see this divergence in the market, which usually is a precursor to corrections. Now, there's really two things that have been going on. Number one is we've had, normal historical extension above the 50-day and the 200-day moving average, because this rally has just been unbelievable. This post-election rally, which is really lined up with historical trends. Usually during presidential election years, post-election, you have this really, really ferocious rally into the year end, and markets tend to get pretty extended, which they've had. We've had significant extension over the 50-day on the S&P 500 and the 200-day, really not even just the S&P 500, the Dow and the NASDAQ. But another thing that we've been seeing is this crowdedness in the market where the Mag 7 companies, right, those big tech companies that we talk about all the time, they've really been leading when a lot of the others have been actually trading back below their 50-day moving average. So you have a very thin market, which is also, I should say, quite reminiscent of times just prior to a market correction. Because once you have all those mega cap companies, have their normal pullbacks to the 50, they make up a large weighting in the index, in which case you'll see a big correction in the index. So I think this is going to spark some opportunities. Additionally, real quick, unfortunately I wasn't able to do the stream that often in Miami, but we had one of the most, I should say, ferocious volatility events as it relates to the VIX since 2018. We had about a 78% bid or rally in the VIX, massive blow off, which usually coincides with, I'm not going to say a market bottom, but close enough. Usually when you have these really ferocious blow-offs, if you will, in the VIX, the CBOE volatility index, it is very, very telling that the move to the downside, at least, may be over for the time being. Now, the problem is a lot of people, they'll try to purchase, let's say, insurance, right? Put options, put protection to the downside while the market is rolling over. But if you understand how options are priced, if you're trying to buy puts on the SPY or the SPOOs or just the index, right? and the VIX has blown off to 30, well, you're probably overpaying for those puts. And the time to hedge is when you have low vol, right? So when the VIX is trading in the low teens or even the single digits, while the market is getting extended, trading into new all-time record highs with gross extension above the 50-day. So I think it's just going to be important to watch the VIX this week. But I would suspect that it's going to be a very, very slow and low volume trading week, which could actually mean that could exacerbate some moves in the market, just because the market's not going to be as liquid as it usually is, because most people are probably with their friends and families for the holidays. Harry Connor says Trump touchy about Musk. Yeah, I mean, it seems like Elon Musk has become the de facto advisor to the Trump administration, whether we like it or not, right? This is a beautiful shot of 432 Park Avenue, as well as the one and only Four Seasons Hotel that just reopened, thank God. Hey, love to travel, says good evening, Tom from Aruba. Glad I'm not home in Boston. It's 10 degrees there. Merry Christmas. Jeez. Well, that's awesome. Hopefully you have a wonderful time in Aruba, because yes, that does not sound fun. 10 degrees in Boston. Jeez. Dr. Murray Hill, MD, cheers to you. Thanks for joining. DC 322, that's also correct. We almost had a government shutdown last week. But you know what? And this may be a little bit of a hot take as it relates to the government shutdown. It's always the same news cycle, in my opinion, every year, right, as it relates to the government shutdown. I mean, if you really pay attention to the headlines, it's the same thing every year, right? The Democrats blame the Republicans and say the Republicans are holding the country hostage and holding paychecks hostage for, hard workers, and they're going to shut down the government. And the Republicans say, the Democrats are holding the country hostage and, they want to spend too much money and they're going to be the reason why we go into a government shutdown, so blame the Democrats. And then they go back and forth, and then they come to a resolution, and then we continue to spend way too much money than we should. So, I don't know. I don't think that's necessarily like a catalyst for the markets, because it's the same thing every year. I mean, we have the same go about. This is a pretty beautiful Christmas tree here. I really want to get you guys down to Rockefeller Center. We've only seen the tree lit up one time. Paul says, how are the renovations going at the Frick collection? It's going pretty good. I don't know when that's going to be completed, but I will say this. If you're traveling to New York and you want to experience one of the greatest museums of all time in New York City, in my opinion, I would check out the Frick collection. Henry Clay Frick, obviously a massive powerhouse during the Industrial Revolution. So it's not only a cool museum to see a lot of the artifacts, but just to kind of reminisce on the Industrial Revolution, which really set the spark to, American dominance, honestly, right? So it's pretty cool. And there's also a lot of tie-ins to the Morgan family, J.P. Morgan, if you go to the Morgan Library as well, which is in Midtown East. Sometimes they have some of the exhibits at the Frick collection, they trade to the Morgan Library too. But as I've said before, the best part of the Frick collection is the house itself, which is unfortunately undergoing renovations. But yeah, check it out. If you guys aren't familiar with it, it's the Henry Clay Frick collection, and it is an awesome museum in New York City. Here's the main entrance to the Sherry Netherland Hotel once more. Hey, what's up, Charlie? Says you're back in New York City. Nice. Yeah, I'm really, really glad to be back, even though it's rather cold. Steve Arena, what's going on? This is coming straight down the Hudson Bay in Greenland. Oh, are we getting a storm or something? Hopefully not. Nick, what's going on? Thank you so much. Merry Christmas to you too. From Nashville. Very cool. I was in Nashville once, and I visited Vanderbilt University. Stevens, this was just down yesterday. Did you stay in a hotel or stay with family or friends? Now, the reason why I ask is because this year, the holiday season in 2024, the hotel rates in New York City have broken records. We have some of the most expensive hotel rates in history. I was just for fun looking at some of the hotel rates for some of the 5-star hotels this week, and all of them are well over $1,000, and a lot of hotels are fully booked out. So if you're able to get a deal, very, very lucky. Now, speaking of 5-star hotels, you can see the Crown building right here, which is also the Amman, New York. I mean, just look at some of the hotel stocks, right? I think as the market was selling off last week, you had Hyatt and Hilton rallying. I think Hyatt, ticker symbol H, is trading near a new all-time record high, I believe. So the ticker symbol for Hyatt is H, and the ticker symbol for Hilton is HLT. Now, another stock that hit a new all-time high last week was Apple. I think we're closing in on a $4 trillion company for Apple, which is insanity. Stevens, this was down with my mom, but wanted to stay one night. Loved the Marriott in Times Square. Very cool. Love that. Sunshine NYC, cheers to you. Happy to be back in New York, even though it's freezing. Carlos says, I was recently in New York for 4 days. Super expensive, but worth it during the holidays. For sure. For sure. And, a little piece of anecdotal data. Just walking around the city today and before I left to Miami, there must be probably the most amount of tourists in New York City that I can remember since before the pandemic. I mean, Christmas of 2018 and 2019, I'd say there's probably just about the same amount of people here now. It's people are out spending money. A lot of tourists, a lot of international travel, so people can seemingly afford to pay these crazy hotel rates. Hey, music to relax and unwind. Good to see you. Tom M is here, says hello from Youngstown, Ohio. If I were to travel to Miami for a few days during the winter, what are the must-see places? Well, I think it just depends on what you want to do. I mean, Youngstown, Ohio is probably freezing in the winter, so I would spend all my time at the beach. But I mean, I don't know what you're interested in, but to be blunt, I would just try to spend all your time. Maybe Sunny Isles Beach, Florida, you would love. Perhaps the south of 5th neighborhood in Miami is also really, really fun. And check out South Point Park. If you're into like nightlife stuff, I would say maybe Brickell, Mary Brickell Village. There's a lot of cool stuff going on there. And Surfside is also a really nice town at night. But if you're into like shopping and things like that, I would say check out Bal Harbor Shops. Hey, Ren1018, it's Tom, glad you're back on the YouTube. Indeed we are. Hopefully you've been well. Hopefully the markets have been treating you well. In addition to that, this is Trump Tower. Chris B, what's up? Thanks for joining. Tomahawks is when we'll be publishing the newsletter. We're going to be publishing it after Christmas. I put a hold on it because I had some events pop up that I needed to tend to. My trip to Miami was much more hectic than expected, and but we'll be publishing that by the end of the week after Christmas. Apologies for the delay, but yes, we're still going with that. Wow, it looks like they have this 56th Street. Well, it's always blocked off, but they have an extra NYPD vehicle here. But I think Trump is still down in South Florida, right? Yeah, Stephen Foose is in Miami Design District for shopping. The Design District is awesome. So if you want to look at a walking tour of the Miami Design District, I have one up under the videos tab on our channel. The Design District is really something. Really something. Also, you know where I spent a lot of time this trip? I spent a lot of time in Wynwood. Wynwood is an awesome place. It reminds me a little bit of Greenpoint, Brooklyn, mixed with what do I want to say? Maybe like it's kind of like a hipstery kind of Greenpoint artsy vibe, which is very cool. If you want to go to a really good Spanish place in Wynwood, which is always packed, it's really fun, the Barcelona Wine Bar, check that out. That is a cool place. It's a really awesome indoor-outdoor venue in Wynwood. I went there like 3 nights in a row with clients and friends, so check it out. The Barcelona Wine Bar. And I usually don't have Spanish food, like food from Spain. And it was pretty good. And it's not too pricey either. It's not bad. Anybody here been to the Barcelona Wine Bar? I think they have a few other locations. This is the St. Regis Hotel, everybody. Stevens is Miami, Florida. Fort Lauderdale, Everglades are all simply wonderful. Miami Beach is amazing. I concur with that. NAV 407. This is Trump is supposed to be in Mar-a-Lago with Trump tonight. Oh, Musk is supposed to be with Trump in Mar-a-Lago. Got it. Rafina says Greenpoint hasn't been hipstery for years. It's Bushwick and Ridgewood now. I mean, when I lived in Greenpoint, it seemed to be all yuppies. Like people that are not from New York, just, you know, transplants coming to New York and doing all their hipstery stuff. Greenpoint was nice, but yeah, you're right. Bushwick, Brooklyn is also very fun. One of my good friends owns a restaurant very close to Bushwick called Tong, T-O-N-G. So if anybody is interested in Thai food in Brooklyn that has a Michelin star, check out Tong, T-O-N-G. This is the St. Regis Hotel. Looks really beautiful on the inside too. Yeah, someone says, have you talked about the incident, the subway incident? I haven't. I don't know what happened today. I think, what was that, all the way out in Brighton Beach or Coney Island or something? I forget. But terrible, horrible. My God. Terrible. You really got to watch it. You really got to watch it on the subways. 99.9% of the time you're going to be fine, but if you're riding the subway, particularly at night, and specifically in the boroughs, you know, not good. But yeah, just keep your head on a swivel. But I did hear about that. I mean, I can't even believe, like, you must have to be like such a like so mentally disturbed to light somebody on fire. But, to be honest, the big problem in New York City as it relates to crime, in my opinion, and this is just from, living here, I probably walk more miles in New York City and see more stuff in New York City than just about any probably New Yorker. I'm always out filming videos at all times of the day. I film videos at 3 a.m. sometimes and post them on my other channels. The problem is just the severely mentally disturbed individuals. From my observation, those individuals account for about 99% of the crime, in my view. And that's a problem because it's like playing Russian roulette. 90% of the time these people are fine, but when they have some sort of a mental episode, they'll either, push you in front of a train or light you on fire, go on a stabbing rampage. It just depends on if you're the unlucky person to be on the receiving end of that. So I think mental health should be a pretty big push for whoever's going to be the next administration is. But yeah, it's really heartbreaking and it's really sad. Hey, what's up, Peter? Good to see you. Guys, this is the University Club adjacent. Beautiful building. Alan says other channels. You mean to tell me I'm not subscribed to you anywhere? You might be. I have a few, two other, ghost channels that I don't tell anybody about, but I post there from time to time. Which I'll never disclose the name of those channels because I like to, not really for the anonymity, but I just like to do A/B testing for the YouTube algorithm. And sometimes I like to film other content, like, more nature stuff, more nightlife stuff, things like that. Let's take a look at St. Thomas Church. Now, kind of to tie this back into the economics front, man, look at how beautiful St. Thomas Church looks. Now, I was in Miami, right, obviously, and I posted this on my X profile or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, and I think if you want to try to maintain the same quality of life, right, the same quality of life that you have in Miami, if you want to take that over and maintain it in New York, I think it's going to be a double, meaning your income probably needs to be double to maintain the same standard of living, and also the rent. Just the square footage of a lot of the apartments in Miami, quite obviously, for the comparable price that you get in New York, it's like 2 times the size. So, the reason why I'm bringing it up is because I oftentimes get a lot of emails and, people DM me and say, New York City's not worth it, New York City sucks. I have obviously a New York City mainly focused YouTube channel. So, you get the New York City haters and the trolls, but I think the thing to realize about New York is you kind of pay the price of admission. Yeah, we have, incompetent politicians, right? And incompetent zoning and regulations that are causing the housing crisis that we have. But it's almost like, you're not going to really get the opportunities anywhere else in the world but New York City. Particularly if you are a tech worker, or you work in finance, or you work in big law. All of those really, really big lucrative opportunities are here. So look, the only thing I could say is if you're young, I would 100% start my career in New York City over any other city, right? Despite all the craziness you see, despite all the nonsensical, what's it called? Crime and all that stuff. I would still start it here, but just be very frugal with your money. You don't have to get your own place. You could live with roommates and just sacrifice for maybe 5 to 7 years and then go invest outside of the city, right? Maybe if you want to buy yourself a little duplex or a triplex in your hometown and try to build something there or invest your money. But by and large, I think New York City provides just really unparalleled opportunity in terms of career growth in those fields, right? Big law, finance and consulting, as well as tech. So that's kind of the trade-off, but it is true. I mean, if you want to maintain, the quality of life I have in Miami is unbelievable, and I pay double to barely maintain the quality of life I have in Miami, in New York City. And it's a grind here. That's all I can say. Maybe we'll take a quick turn down here to avoid the traffic. There's a really good coffee shop here on the corner. This is one of my favorites anywhere. It's called Watch House. And apparently it's from London. I didn't know that just until a couple days ago. Somebody emailed me. Hey, Austin City Limits, good to see you. Bree Grams, welcome. Tomahawk says you also have to include lack of safety in New York City. No way to put a dollar amount on that. No, I get it. I'm not trying to downplay it. Now, many people say, oh, well, if you look at the statistics, if you look at the data, it's safer. Look, I travel home on the subway late at night, and I'm probably underground more than anybody. I cover more ground in this city than anybody. Every day I run into some sort of freak event. Every day. I probably have like 2 terabytes worth of footage of just absolutely this nonsense that happens in the subways. So, I get it. I would never allow my wife or my daughters to travel home alone on the subway after 10 o'clock at night. It's not happening. They could take an Uber, right? Particularly if they're traveling from Manhattan to a borough, because those subways, like the F train, turns into just a complete homeless encampment after hours. But this is Watch House. This is an awesome coffee shop. So if you're in the neighborhood, check it out. So yeah, I'm not downplaying that. I definitely get it. But the good news, look, we got a little bit of a heroin den going on in here. It just really depends. It's sad, but it is what it is. But I'm very optimistic on the city overall. And I said, with this, I should say, and it's going to sound kind of funny, the Trump administration is going to be so bullish for the state of California and the state of New York. Many people are extremely negative and bearish on California, particularly some of the major cities like San Francisco. I would do the exact opposite. I think those cities, once you return to safety, right, once you put a priority on safety and law and order, those cities are going to scream. We've already had a massive uptick in just luxury real estate sales in Manhattan, right? Post-election, it's like the phones have been ringing off the hook, deals have been closing left and right. It's like it's go time. It's business is open. And that's just, on the anecdotal side that I'm seeing in my business. And you could look at the data, right? Just look at New York City luxury real estate sales post-presidential election. They've gone through the roof. People are investing millions of dollars into the city now because they have a view that the city will get safer. And I think it will. And I think the city is going to do really, really well. I think New York City is going to do well. I think Los Angeles is going to do well. I think San Francisco is going to do well. So I'm very bullish on America in general. Hey, Diana, thank you so much. for your $10 donation. Appreciate it. This is Merry Christmas, Tom and chat. Wishing you a Merry Christmas as well. And thank you for joining. Appreciate it very, very much. On this cold night. I'm glad I got my gloves on. This is a cool view here. You have the Hilton Hotel, and then you have the Steinway Tower. Once again, the skinniest residential apartment building in the world. Hey, Dan Zhang says, hey Tom, hope you had a great year in 2024. No complaints on my behalf, that is for sure. It's been a really amazing year. 2024 has been awesome, and I think 2025 is going to be even better. So, very optimistic for 2025. And, 2024, just in terms of the real estate business, if you did well in the real estate business in 2024, you're going to have just an unbelievable, explosive 2025, because if you were in the business of brokering real estate, developing real estate, almost nobody did any deals last year. 2024, we've had some of the lowest levels in terms of home sales since the early 90s. Worst home sales since the depths of the financial crisis. So if that's the business you're in and you had a good year, I mean, just stick with it. Don't quit. Push through, because you made it through the bottom. Hey, Middle Age Grind, thank you so much for your $2 donation. Merry Christmas, happy holidays to you. As we look at the halal guys, these guys do really, really well. Look at the line. Not as long as Adele's, though. Matthew says, isn't one of these halal spots very famous? Yes, there's two halal spots that are famous. This one, which is right on the corner of West 53rd Street, the Hilton Hotel, but there's actually a better halal spot, which is all the way down just past Radio City Music Hall. It's Adele's Famous. That is my all-time favorite halal food anywhere in the world. And I haven't eaten halal food anywhere else but New York City. But yeah, it's amazing. I really like halal food. I don't get it as much now as I used to, but Desi says it's freezing in New York City, only 17 degrees Fahrenheit. Yikes. Is it really only 17 degrees? Jeez. I'd say I'm pretty appropriately dressed, so I'm not super, super cold, but it definitely feels a lot colder than the 75 degrees in Miami Beach. That's for sure. Leslie says, what do I order? I usually order a mix over rice. So it'll have like a lamb or a chicken over rice, which is great. And it's honestly pretty reasonable. You can get a plate for like $12. Let's see if they have the yellow cab here. And selfishly, I'm just going to stand under this heat lamp for like 5 seconds. Joe says, I've had halal guys when I was in New York City. I've had better Lebanese food. Very cool. Anybody else have a good halal spot that you'd recommend? I kind of wish taxi cabs or just cars in general had that same look as what they did back in the day. It's like the cars don't really have any character nowadays. Would you agree? Like these classic cars, it looks like there's craftsmanship that went into it. I think post, mass production, right? Obviously, it's able to get cars down super, super cheap, but it's just like these mass-produced hunks of plastic on the road. It doesn't really have any character. I mean, just look at how cool the detail is on here. Like the side mirrors, it's awesome. Yeah, Roberts is built like a tank. Now, speaking of vehicles, did anybody see the Tesla Roadster, the specs for that? I think 0 to 60 in under, in under 1 second or something crazy? I'm not even sure how that's possible, but I saw that on X earlier today. Michael says in the 80s, cars started to look the same. Sunnyside says 1.8 seconds. I thought I saw like 0.8 or something crazy. I don't know. I could be mistaken. There's a lot of fake news on X. Maybe someone could look that up. What is the 0 to 60 on the new Tesla Roadster that's coming out? You can see the World Trade Center all the way in the distance. Speaking of Tesla, we hit new all-time record highs. We're pulling back a little bit, testing that breakout, but we called the bottom Tesla back in April. Wow, 1.8, 1.9 seconds. Now, what is the purpose to that, by the way? I understand that it's cool, but I wonder what that must feel like. Jason says Mustangs are the best. Well, the NYPD has a few of the Mustang Mach-E's, the electric ones. But I think EVs, autonomous driving, and robotics are going to be the big themes for the future, or a few of the big themes for the future. Some people think it will be quantum computing, but I don't think that quantum computing is going to affect the masses, the average everyday person, but robotaxis, autonomous driving, and robotics are, right? I mean, think about the day when you'll have like a Tesla bot, Optimus, be able to do like household things, but like actual use case. It's going to be pretty insane. Holy crap, look at that. Look at all that steam coming out of here. Wow, Sean Alexander says, man, I love Waymo. I use it almost every day. Wow. So tell us about that. How has your experience been with Google Waymo? The reason why I'm very curious is because I believe they just signed a deal with Miami. I think Google's Waymo, the autonomous driving division, is coming to Miami. I think that's the next city. Oh, look at this Cybertruck here. I'm actually getting frostbite through my gloves. I gotta change hands. West Coast Walker says, love Waymo, ride it all the time. All right, let's cross the downside here. Yeah, I mean, full autonomy is going to be amazing. Think about what that's going to do for collisions. I mean, what's that going to do for the insurance business? I mean, the insurance industry has been in the the news lately on the medical insurance side. But I mean, think about, when we virtually have no more accidents because everything is all autonomous. That's going to be a huge money saver for consumers. Malibu says the younger generation doesn't want to get a license. Is that true? I remember I was like obsessed. Once I turned 16, I wanted to get my learner's permit like immediately. On my 16th birthday, I wanted to go to the DMV like immediately. I don't know, maybe things have changed. I am getting older, but I feel like a lot of young people want more freedom. They want to get their permit and get out and do things. I don't know. Anyway, if you guys are enjoying the live stream so far tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video and click the subscribe button if you're new. We do these live streams every single day starting at 8:45. Wow, Melissa 2087 says that's true. Driver's licenses are way down. I didn't get my license until 37 and I still barely drive. Wow. Sean says Waymo is cheaper than Lyft or Uber. Is it really? See, I don't have any experience with Waymo because we don't have it here in New York, unfortunately. Now, what do you think the reasoning is behind the younger generation not wanting to get a driver's license? Is it just because they have Uber, Lyft, Waymo, all these other ride-sharing applications at their disposal? I mean, Uber, when I got my learner's permit at 16 years old, Uber wasn't even a company, I don't even think. Style says, I just take Uber. I hate the driving anxiety. Cameron says, no car payment. That's good. That's probably a good one. Robert says they're lazy. Christina says, my daughter is 18 and has no urgency to get her license here in Texas. Really? That's so strange. So what does she do? How does she get around? Does she just take public transportation, I guess? Or I guess just take Uber, Lyft. I mean, maybe there'll come a day where you don't even need a license, JJ says parking costs as much as rent. Well, in New York City, that is true. One of the deals I did last week was selling an individual parking space for $165,000. And that's actually cheap. The guy got a pretty good deal. But you're right. I mean, if you live in New York City, you got to pay to park it. If you don't want to rent, and if you want to buy your own parking space, you're going to have to write a check for $165,000, and you got to pay the taxes, and you have to pay the common charges, and you have to pay the security. So you're looking at $550 a month on top of the $165,000 that you paid. About $310 for the taxes a month, $75 for the common charges, and $125 for the security. So I definitely would want to take an Uber. Wow, this is a really, really pretty shot here. Let's try to go around the block, maybe through the Diamond District, and then we will, Del Frisco's looks packed. I'll have to try to get to Del Frisco's at least once. Well, I'm back in New York. Well, it's an interesting conversation about the younger generation, right? And I think from an investment standpoint, it's very, very important to pay attention to the changes in consumer habits for young people, right? It's not to fight it and say, oh, they're lazy, they're this, they're that. I think you got to somehow try to capitalize on that trend. And the younger generation wants to prioritize convenience, right? If they don't want a license, they're so used to being able to pulling up their phone, calling an Uber, calling a Lyft, getting everything instantaneous. So the future, I think, right, if you're thinking about a company to invest in, and I was talking about this with a friend the other day, I'm like, the best investments of the future are going to be the companies that are prioritizing convenience. Can you give it to me at the cheapest price possible, and can you give it to me yesterday? Right? Not even now, can you give it to me and deliver the product yesterday? Right? Young generation are looking for convenience, extremely fast, and they're willing to pay a premium for that too. And you can kind of see this with, earnings reports. Just look at the divergence in Amazon and Target, right? Amazon, you can go on your phone, you click one button, buy now, and you can do same day delivery, and you'll have a guy drop it off to your house, right? Grocery shopping, you can go grocery shopping online on Walmart, order everything online, and pick it up in the store or have it delivered to your house. So the people who can really capitalize on same day delivery, convenience, those are the businesses that are going to win, which is why I believe Walgreens, obviously that stock is on its way to zero, CVS, all the drugstores, the dollar stores, they're all going to go to zero. And I may obviously sound a little bit facetious when I say that, but the general trend of those stocks will be to zero, right? They will all go to zero because nobody wants to walk into a CVS, have everything locked up behind plexiglass because there's no law and order, click a little button to have some, teenager with an attitude walk over to unlock the plexiglass so you can get a little thing of toothpaste. People want to go on their phone, order it on Amazon with one click, and a guy delivers it, or you're probably going to have a drone deliver it to your house. Right? It's not even going to be a guy or a girl anymore. It's going to be a drone flying it right to your house. So think about the friction. It's called friction in the transaction. The least amount of friction you can have between you and the customer, the better you're going to do. So if you go into a Target and you have everything locked up behind plexiglass, well, people probably aren't going to shop there. Right? Everybody has low attention spans as it is, right? People can't even watch, a 5-second TikTok all the way through. They're not going to stand for 2 minutes to have somebody unlock a tube of toothpaste, right? So businesses that prioritize convenience, speed, and efficiency are going to win. And I think that's why Amazon has really been winning. All right, everybody. I'm pretty excited about this because we are going to see ooh, look at how beautiful this is. Wow, the tree looks amazing. Alan says, my case isn't really attention span. My time is just worth money, so I go for convenience, for sure. I totally agree with you, and I'm willing to pay more. I will actually pay more money just to have something done quicker, right? That's very, very well put. Instead of, spending 2 hours inside Target, I could just quickly pull up another tab on my computer, order everything I need, and have somebody deliver it to my house in a day. Let's get a closer look. Man, I think this is the best Rockefeller Center Christmas tree we've had in New York City, to be honest. Tree is extremely full and extremely, extremely symmetrical. Just looks amazing. Hey, what's up, Brian? Good to see you. Thanks for joining. Raba from Algeria, thank you so much. Brian, Miami was amazing. Just keeps getting better and better. And Miami was very busy, lots of Canadians. Usually the Canadians come a little bit later after the new year, but we have our Canadian friends in New York City, or not in New York City, in Miami, Florida, a lot earlier this year. So it was pretty cool to see. Hey, Brad's Brain, what's going on? Thanks for joining. Welcome back to New York City. I'm sure you had a good year this year. Brad, what would you say overall for your business for this year, 2024? And just for the most recent quarter, would you say business has picked up a little bit? Do you have an optimistic outlook for 2025? Just curious. And I guess I could extend that question to everybody else. I mean, what do you guys think? And it doesn't. This isn't necessarily like a markets question. It's just, your business, maybe at your job. Do you definitely see things picking up, or customers' attitudes changing? I mean, are you more optimistic for closing more deals in the new year? Or kind of what are you seeing out there? Someone says, when is the snow supposed to arrive? I think it's here, but you just can't really see it in Manhattan. Wow, a lot of people here. Paul says, where do you see the brick and mortar retail experience in the next 10 to 15 years? Do you think even places like Target could close someday? No, I think you're going to have brick and mortar always have its place, but it's going to be to supplement the online experience, right? I view brick and mortar in the future. You'll have brick and mortar stores mostly to be used as a logistics hub for delivery, and then you'll have the floor as a showroom, so to speak. So I think it'll always serve its purpose, but the business strategy should probably be online e-commerce first, and have a very positive in-person experience. So over-index on the in-person experience from a visual and aesthetic point of view, but be very, very low, lean and mean on the inventory. And it's kind of think about, why Walmart is so great, right? The distribution centers for Walmart are so key to their success. That's how they can, afford to get things to you in just a matter of days, right? Same thing for Amazon. So I think you're going to see more like satellite kind of pop-up stuff and using and over-indexing on e-commerce and also an online experience for in-store pickup, right? I mean, how many of you do curbside pickup for like Walmart or something like that? Like, does anybody go grocery shopping? You do all your shopping online, but then you just drive to the store and pick it up and then it's there waiting for you? Wow, look at that. This is beautiful. Brad says, to answer your question, I'm optimistic for 2025, but this year was flat and we struggled end of year. I think a lot to do with the election. That's probably true. Now my portfolio, on the other hand, yeah, for sure. That's interesting. Let me try to scroll through the chat here. It's hard to do with my gloves. Stevie says kind of like Walmart now. Walmarts in Jersey sometimes have more people pulling orders than shopping. Yeah, and I think that's a really great business model too, especially for efficiency. Roberts' drones will deliver products to you. More than likely, I'd say. More than likely. I think Walmart is already testing drone delivery. Hey, JJC Test, thank you, appreciate it. New England Crypto says, I had a home electronics store for almost 20 years, closed it in 2022. No one driving to small stores to see what's in stock anymore. Yeah, it's true. I mean, you could, just pull the inventory online. All right, let's do one lap around Rockefeller Center. Yeah, it's true. Joe says drones would not work in Manhattan. I don't know. I mean, you never know. With the appropriate regulation, I think they would work exceptionally well. Like, think about it like this. If you wanted something delivered to your office, let's say if you work in 30 Rock, which is the building we're looking at right now, they would need to make designated drone helipads on the roof. So maybe it takes off from the Amazon facility in Long Island City, Queens, it flies over the East River, and then it drones right on top of Rockefeller Center, and then boom, you have, workers on the roof that put it in the elevator and take it down to the offices. So I don't know, I think drones would work, but the FAA would just have to do it obviously in an efficient way. Once a building has a certain amount of deliveries, the drone just is a batch delivery or something. Or maybe we don't need drones. Maybe it'll just be streamlined to like an autonomous Tesla bot or something. Man, lots of tourists out today, which is good news for the city in general. All right, let's go back out and around, and we'll head down towards 34th Street. Hey, Tariq Khan. What's going on? Good to see you. Joel PM says, would you fly in a drone taxi? I would say yes. Remember we were streaming in Grand Central Station and they had that drone taxi service on display? I think they're going to start to do electric drone rides from Battery Park to JFK and LaGuardia Airport for like $90. Brian says, Tom, do you see high-end / luxury stores remaining strong into 2025 in places like New York City and Miami? It doesn't seem to me that would move online. Well, I think those luxury stores always have to have some sort of a presence, right? You always have to have kind of like a showroom or an in-store experience for that. But, to piggyback off of that topic, one of the things that I would say, we've been talking about, the stock market is not the economy, right? And the problem over the last decade is that the rich in this country continue to get increasingly more rich, and the poor and the middle class continue to get really hollowed out. And that's just the truth, right? So if you're thinking about, starting a business or, a service or something, it's probably best to cater towards the high end, like luxury experiences, high ticket item sales, because, if we have another recession, which we will, nobody knows when, but we will, the wealthy in this country have accumulated so much wealth that they'll pretty much be insulated from the lion's share of it, right? So that's also something to think about, So if you're thinking about starting a business, a company, there's a lot of rich people out there, and the conversation we just had about extreme convenience, people are willing to pay up and pay a premium for convenience, having things immediately. So I would model your products and services around high ticket, very, very high ticket item stuff. It's unfortunate that we don't have a Saks Fifth Avenue holiday display. Hey, what's up, Western Mass Dave? Cheers to you. Had a good year, and you're a broker or you're a developer. If you had a good year in 2024, you're going to make a fortune in 2025 and 2026 because nobody did any business. So I would say stay in the game and don't quit when times are tough. That's when you need to dig in your heels, right? There's a lot of people that get churned out when the market is slow and things are not doing well. That's when you should be working harder because all those deals are going to come back to you. Like I closed, I'll have my final tally obviously at the end of the year, but the lion's share of the transactions came at the second half of the year. Almost all of them came at the second half of the year. So definitely hang in there. But speaking of that, kind of shifting things back to Wall Street, bonus season is going to be in Q1, right? So Wall Street are probably going to have record bonuses this year. I don't know if they'll be as high as 2021, but they're definitely going to be monstrous, particularly if you are like in the hedge fund business or something like that. That's a huge part of the economy, right? And in Q1, when those bonuses get paid out, which are probably going to be record bonuses, that's going to go back into the economy. They're going to spend, they're going to go buy stuff, they're going to take vacations. So keep that in the back of your mind as a potential catalyst, because this has been a very, very good year for those of you in the financial business. All right, here's another shot of the tree from the other angle. SLA, this is so nice to have you back. Really happy to be back in New York, even though it is quite cold. But I am happy to be back nonetheless. Brad's brain says your world opened up post-election. Yes, for sure. Hey, Vladimir, good to see you. Thanks so much for your generous $4 donation. Appreciate you very much. Now, what are futures doing? I wouldn't be surprised if futures are red, because we have Bitcoin trading right at the 50. Maybe we get our decent-sized correction now. Maybe we don't even wait for Q1. Maybe we'll get it now. There's a lot of stuff breaking the 50-day. But Vladimir, thank you. Appreciate it. Hey, Sunnyside. This is Tom. Your thoughts on blanket tariffs with our top 3 trading partners, Mexico, Canada, China, etc. Thank you so much, Sunnyside, for your $20 donation. Appreciate your support. Well, here's my take on tariffs, and we've talked about this before. Tariffs are a negotiating tool, right? And both sides of the aisle have really been explaining tariffs in a disingenuous way, in my opinion. That's just my take. The right has been explaining tariffs like they're going to be the best thing ever. It's going to be, a one-trick pony. It's going to solve all of our problems. And then the left has been saying, well, tariffs are going to make everything more expensive. It's going to destroy the middle class. You're not going to be able to pay for groceries because everything's going to be so expensive. Which I think both those kind of explanations are too easy, but usually politicians give a very dumbed down, like gaslighting explanation for everything. Tariffs are a means to an attempt at a renegotiation to a better deal, right? So what I think is going to happen is you're going to have short-term pain when these tariffs are implemented, or who knows, maybe we won't even have to implement the tariffs. We'll just go back to the negotiating table and get a better deal. But maybe some countries will be holdouts and will be stubborn, and maybe we don't get a better deal, right? I think we will, but you're going to go through short-term pain. That's just what's going to happen. In addition, which I think is one and the same here, if you talk about DOGE, right, the Department of Government Efficiency with, Elon Musk and who is it, Vivek Ramaswamy, I think, and a few others. If you significantly cut government jobs, which is a good thing, right, trimming the fat at a lot of these bloated government organizations, well, you're going to have at least a temporary or short-term slowdown. If you have mass unemployment in the government sector, it's going to take some time for these people to assimilate back into the private sector, and that's going to be lost wages, and that's going to cause a turbulent event. But it's going to be for long-term gain, right? So it'll never be explained like that. because that's not what's going to win an election. That's not what's going to win votes. And our politicians have gotten us into a really, really bad spot because they just want to kick the can down the road, right? The Democrats and the Republicans don't want to fix the problem, because in order to fix the problem, the country is going to need to go through short-term turbulence and turmoil, right? It's like you're going to need to take the cough medicine at some point, but the Democrats are like, I don't want to do it under my term, and the Republicans are like, I don't want to do it under my term, right? We need somebody just to level with the American people, not only about the tariff situation, but about really the way our economy is run, right? And say, look, if we really want to entertain balancing the budget, reducing the deficit, it's the only way to do that is the U.S. is probably going to need to go through a recession, probably. There's going to be job loss. There's going to be economic hardship for maybe 2 quarters, 3 quarters, maybe a year, maybe 2 years, right? I don't know. But there's going to be short-term pain if you call out significant portions of the government and people are unemployed. That's just what it's going to have to happen. Well, maybe if we can implement AI fast enough, things will be streamlined and employee productivity will go up and we won't fall into a recession. I think that's the $1 million question. But not to ramble on too much, I think that's my view on it. So the tariff situation, it's not a binary event. With Trump throwing on all these tariffs, if he does, it's not guaranteed to work. I think it'll work, but it's not guaranteed to work. But it's also disingenuous to say, oh, it's going to make everything more expensive and you're not going to be able to pay for food, because it's obviously going to create a short-term turbulent event, in my view. But Sunnyside, thank you very, very much. Yeah, Western Mass Dave. This is Tom, level with the American people. No way. It's unfortunate, right? Because, it's easy to print money. It's easy to spend money. And there is a high correlation with GDP growth and government spending, right? And this is on both sides of the aisle, right? President Trump, under his first term, spent a hell of a lot of money, right? Obviously, we had COVID. The Biden administration spent a hell of a lot of money. But that acted as stimulus to drive the market and drive the economy higher. If we have significant cuts in government spending, just do the math. It's a form of stimulus. All right, got to switch hands here. Vlad says, what's my BTC investing strategy for 2025? Bitcoin, my investing strategy has been the same. I don't trade it, so I don't trade Bitcoin. I just accumulate it. So the more Satoshis I can get, I've ridden out every single bear market since 2016, and my thesis about Bitcoin is that it's the only unconfiscatable asset. And I know there's a lot of people in the audience that hate Bitcoin. They think it's a scam. I totally respect it. I get it. I'm not trying to convince anyone to buy it. If you don't understand it, if you don't like it, you shouldn't buy it. You shouldn't even think about it. But for me, I see value in something that is unconfiscatable, right? I believe we have it very easy in the United States. We don't live under a tyrannical government, even though if you turn on Fox News, they'll say the past 4 years has been under a tyrannical government. If you turn on CNN, they'll say, Trump is Hitler, we're going to live under tyranny. That's all bullshit on both sides. It's not. The U.S. is a free country. I mean, if you want to see what it's like living under tyranny, I mean, look what's going on in the Middle East right now. I mean, look what's going on in Eastern Europe right now with all these wars. Try free speech in Russia, right? See where that gets you. So we have it too easy in the U.S., so it's hard for Americans to see the value proposition in an unconfiscatable asset because they're not used to having a government debank them, right, or deplatform them. But I see the value in it, so I think it deserves an allocation. It's the only asset that you can actually hold your own private keys to in self-custody, right? If I buy stocks, my stocks are custodied at Charles Schwab or at Interactive Brokers. My Bitcoin, I have my private keys, So as maybe a 5% net worth hedge, I think it's worth it. And I think, I don't give out financial advice, but I think it's worth it for a lot of people. And I think a lot of wealthy individuals, particularly, wealthy individuals abroad, are going to come to see the value in it. So I think the question is, gold has served that purpose for thousands of years, right? It's scarce. It's been used as a store of value. But we're in the year 2024 now, about to be 2025. So Bitcoin has all those properties, but it's portable and it's unconfiscatable, right? The United States outlawed owning gold back in the day. You had to give up your gold. You had to turn in your gold. I own gold. I own the paper. I don't own the physical asset. I'm long the paper. But I think the unconfiscatable, the scarcity, and being able to quite literally have, in theory, $100 million, $1 billion, and carry it in your head, in your mind, send it to somebody halfway across the world for less than $10 with no permission, right? That's another thing. It's permissionless money. If I want to wire $1 million to my brother, Jamie Dimon's going to get on the other line, not literally, but someone from JP Morgan Chase is going to get on the horn and say, hey, why are you wiring $1 million? Who's it to? What's it for? Ask me a million questions. It's a permission system, right? With Bitcoin, there is no permission. I just do it. If I want to send Western Mass Dave $1 million worth of Bitcoin, I just do it, right? The miners and the network runs 24/7, 365 without any permission. It's permissionless. So I see value in that. I see real value in that. So again, the permissionless aspect, the scarce aspect, the unconfiscatable properties, I think it deserves an allocation, and I've been accumulating it since 2016. And safe to say it's been a life changer for me. Anyway. Damn, look at this. Holy crap. Look at that. The fountain is completely, well, not completely, like halfway frozen here. That's wild. That just gives you an idea of how cold it is out here. If you look right here, you could start to see it's starting to freeze over the whole thing. Brad's brains is gold as it has been, in my opinion. I want nothing to do with it. In full transparency, I own gold as well. But the paper. Now, another thing about Bitcoin, it's a very asymmetric bet, right? The investment business is all about taking as many asymmetric bets as possible. The bets don't have to pay off. It's just you give yourself more at-bats with a high probability outcome, right? So what is the probability that Bitcoin actually becomes a thing, right? Now, this was my thought process back in 2016 and 2017. I think it's safe to say Bitcoin is a thing, right? I think at its all-time high price, it was at about $108,000, right? I remember when Bitcoin crossed $1,000 for the first time. So that argument's over. So the argument back when we were discussing it at $1,000, was what is the probability that this is going to be a real thing, and most people are going to have at least a 1% allocation to it. To what is the probability this fails and it goes to zero? Well, even if you allocated $10,000, $20,000 to it, and it went to zero, you lost your money. But the probability that it would become an actual real thing was really high, right? If you were paying attention. So for it to get there, and I think we still have a long way to go over the long term, I think you're going to see asset managers, right, wealth managers, recommending a minimum 5% allocation to Bitcoin and digital assets. And it's going to get there probably, maybe in the next 10 years. But you're going to be able to go to Goldman Sachs Wealth Management, UBS Wealth Management, and off the bat, right, ultra high net worth individuals, they're going to say, yep, we're going to get you up to a 5% allocation, right? That's going to happen, right? I've been in this space for a long time. I remember Tom Lee going on CNBC in 2016 saying, yeah, we're probably going to get to a point where everybody is going to recommend a 0.5% allocation to Bitcoin, right? Then 2 years later, it was 1%. Then a year later, it was 2%. It's going to get to 5%. So if you have, sovereign wealth funds, family offices, ultra high net worth individuals, everybody has a 5% allocation. This is going to get nuts. It's already nuts. I can't describe how wild it is, or how wild it was watching Bitcoin trade above $100,000 for the first time, when I remember, it hitting $900 and $1,000. So it's, I think it's going to be a whole other asset class. We'll see. All right, that's enough Bitcoin talk. I could talk about Bitcoin all night. The LT Prod says, Tom, were you surprised when Microsoft voted against Bitcoin? I was not surprised. I was going to be very surprised if they voted for it. This is the Bank of America Tower here. There's a lot of people ice skating tonight. Chris says it'd be great if you dedicated an entire walk to Bitcoin. I think a lot of people would get upset. You'd be surprised. Every time we talk about Bitcoin on the channel, I get some very nasty emails, which I get it. Actually, I don't get it. I don't understand why it's so controversial, but it is. Anyway. All right, let's check out the Bryant Park Grill here as we are in the back of the Stephen Schwarzman building. Stephen Schwarzman, founder of Blackstone. Blackstone just acquired Jersey Mike's subs. Which means they're probably just going to fire a bunch of people and raise the prices. Anytime, and look, I think I'm very fair. When private equity says, we're going to come in here and increase operational efficiencies and create a better, what do they say? What's like the private equity phrase? They say increase operational efficiencies and improve company culture. That means they're going to fire a bunch of people and they're going to raise prices. I mean, I'm just being honest. That's what it means. It means they're going to fire a bunch of people and they're going to raise the prices. Anyway. Hey, Western Mass Dave. Thank you so much for your very generous $10 donation. Let's see the two lions in front of New York Public Library. Dave says, Tom, love when you curse. Please enjoy hot chocolate on me. Send that BC. Thank you so much. Western and Mass Dave. Cheers to you. Thank you so much. Trust you're doing well. I'm going to have to get out to Long Island to see the old Beagle. I'll snap a photo or two and I'll send it to you. The Beagle is still going strong. But thank you, Western Mass Dave, as always. This is the Bryant Hotel. Hey, Professor, have a good night. Thanks for joining. Now, every time we kind of talk about the Bitcoin situation, I actually always think of the early build out of the internet. Now, if you guys remember correctly, during the build out of the internet leading up into cloud computing, there were actually a few, really, really successful mega billionaires that thought the internet wasn't going to work and that thought cloud computing wasn't going to work. And the person that stands out the most to me is Larry Ellison, right, of Oracle. Thought cloud computing was just going to be, it wasn't going to work. It's going to be, nobody's going to want to do it. And that really gave Amazon, AWS, about a 5-year head start in the cloud computing space. But what these billionaires have in common is, even though they're wrong on something, they put their egos aside and they course correct and they get back on the train. And Larry Ellison in Oracle is now one of the leaders in cloud computing. So I think you're going to see this trend happening a lot more around Bitcoin. Hey, Tariq Khan, thank you so much for your $20 donation. This is Merry Christmas to all and Ella. Thank you, Tariq. Appreciate you as always. Thank you for your generosity. Hopefully you're having a wonderful holiday season. And thank you again for your donation. This is Patience and Fortitude, the two lions here. But yeah, I think it's a good lesson just to kind of look back to say, ego is a really strong thing, and ego gets in the way of everybody. It gets in the way of me. I have to put my ego in check all the time. And in the investment business, if you could put your ego to the side and not care about being right or wrong and just care about making money, you're going to be able to be very malleable with your decision making. You're going to be able to say, oops, I was wrong on that. Let me do a complete 180 and get back on the correct track, right? If you're trying to get to Manhattan, right, and you're at Jamaica, and you jump on the Long Island Railroad, and you accidentally get on the Babylon line, and you're headed to Babylon, and you don't get off at the next stop, you're not going to get to Manhattan. You're going to go all the way out to Babylon. But if you're stubborn and you're like, no, this is the right train, I knew this was the right train, you're wrong, well, you're going to be sent all the way out to Babylon. Sometimes you got to get off the wrong train and get on the right train to get to your destination. So if you see an investment or a trade or something moving against you, just get off the train, exit the position, lose some money. It's not the end of the world. And then go buy something that is on the right direction and the right path. If you make a public call about, hey, I think this stock is going to go up, this company has all of these bullish catalysts going for it, and then the stock starts to trend in the wrong direction and goes down, well, maybe you were wrong on something. Maybe your thesis was incorrect. So it's appropriate to exit that position and move on to something else. This is, I would say the most famous trade, I think this was 2024, it may have been in 2023, was when Bill Ackman of Pershing Square, he bought Netflix, right? And he bought Netflix a few days before earnings. They tanked on earnings, and the story changed, and he exits his position after the stock dropped 20% overnight. Now, Ackman literally sold the bottom of that stock before Netflix went on to rally over 200%, making new all-time record highs. And you'll kind of see these memes and stuff on the internet saying, Bill Ackman, what an idiot. He sold the exact bottom. But that actually was the right thing to do. That was actually the right thing to do. Because who's to say that stock couldn't have gone down another 20% or another 30%, right? You just don't know. So if something goes against your thesis, you've got to exit the trade and get into something else. So he exited Netflix, added to his Hilton positions and his other positions, and he's had a really, really good year. So it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to lose money. Sometimes it's actually good to lose money, right? Kind of the way it was explained to me is if you can get used to completing a losing trade or a losing investment, you're going to develop a callus where it's not going to be so painful. If you start a position, moves against you 8%, you blow it out, you lose some money, no big deal. It keeps you in the game for forever if you're willing to take those losses. So don't be the person who rides a stock or an investment or even an ideology to zero. It's okay if you're wrong. Look at this. Beautiful Grand Central Station, one of the most beautiful buildings in the United States, honestly. Hey, Mohammed M., good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us. Mike says, Tom, do your joints hurt after you end your day? Do you have any joint pain from walking? No joint pain from walking. I would say if I don't walk, which is really strange, but I was doing some research into this. I'm not a doctor. I don't know I'm not a medical professional, but essentially what I was reading is, the more cardio you do, the better. I should rephrase that. The more low impact cardio. So like walking is low impact, right? Not, jogging and running and things like that. So when I don't do the stream, when I don't walk a crazy amount, I actually feel more lethargic the next day. So hopefully I can keep up the miles and do this for quite some time. But I actually feel much, much better. I feel more mentally alert. I think my body feels better. If I do like 12 to 15 miles a day, I just feel like a superhuman.
Getting on and off your train.
All right, let's pull over to the side here. Here we are in Grand Central Station. Wow, Trevor says we walked 10 miles or 21,000 steps on our second day in New York City last week. Yeah, and you know what? It's very easy to do it, too. I'm sure you've probably noticed that, right? Like, if you live in the suburbs and you go outside and you walk 21,000 steps, it's going to feel unbelievable. It's going to feel like, oh my God, this is impossible for me to walk these 21,000 steps. And you're going to be exhausted. But if you're in New York City and you're walking around and you clock 21,000 steps, you're going to look back on the day like, what? Is that possible? How did I actually walk 21,000 steps? It's so easy. I don't know what it is. Something about just being in the city. It's very, very easy to walk a crazy amount. Let's make one quick lap around Grand Central Station. Hey, what's up, Barry? Says you're subconsciously moving your foot with the sensory overload in the city. True. Someone says, do you use shoe inserts? I don't use any shoe inserts, no. I mean, maybe when I'm a little bit older, I'll start to feel all the pain, but I just wear regular junky shoes. All right, let me pull off to the side. Seems to be pretty quiet. All right, let's go up here and then exit. This is now 200 Park Avenue, and we're going to go right through the MetLife building to 45th Street, Vanderbilt Avenue. Essentially, we're just taking a shortcut. Instead of walking outside, we're walking through the corridor here. Someone says, does Grand Central ever close? I don't think it does. Hey, Omega Sparrow, thank you so much for your $5 donation. This is Merry Christmas, Tom, and a Happy New Year. You as well. Hopefully your holiday season is going fantastic. And thank you for your very kind donation. I appreciate it. Oh, by the way, this is the Capitol Grill. This is the new location that opened. Hey, Andy, good to see you. Annyeonghaseyo. I'll be in Korea probably second quarter of 2025. So looking forward to being back. Now, when I'm in Korea, I want to get some footage of some of my favorite neighborhoods in South Korea. Maybe I'll post it here or on a different channel, but I think you guys would like Korea. I really do. I really, really do. It's a very, very fun country, particularly Seoul, Suwon, different parts. And it's a very small country, so if you're visiting there, you can quite literally see the whole country in one trip. It's very cool. All right, let's bang this left. Park Avenue East. Yeah, Jax, Seoul must be very cool city to see. It is. It's very clean, very modern. This is Bobby Vans. Yeah, Sunnyside, Busan is really good, really nice too. I kind of like it out in the countryside near Osan. All right, I just wanted to check on 270 Park Avenue. This is going to be an amazing new addition to Park Avenue here in New York City. Hey, Leslie, thank you so much for your $5 donation. This is Merry Christmas, Tom. Thank you, and Merry Christmas to you too. Hopefully you guys have some good plans for the Christmas week. All right, this is the new JP Morgan Chase office tower, 270 Park. Almost done too. A lot of the scaffolding has come down. But Leslie, thank you very, very much. Appreciate it. This thing is going to look amazing when it's fully complete. Now we have another skyscraper coming very soon to Park Avenue, which is going to be the Citadel Tower. So you're going to have a very high concentration of what they would call Class A office towers right here on Park Avenue. But I think this one is the most unique. 270. Right on the corner of 47th Street and Park. And then you can see 432 Park Avenue in the distance. This is the lobby of the old JP Morgan Chase building, which is 277 Park. Still pretty nice, but definitely not as nice as 270. Yeah, Chloe's Citadel will have their new tower in Miami as well. Yeah, it's right in Brickell. I was just over there by the Panorama Tower, and that building is just going to be insane. Insane. I think this most recent trip to Miami, I was finally to the point where I'm like, yeah, I think I could probably live here even almost all year round. And then when I miss New York, maybe just come back. But it's such an amazing quality of life down there. It's unbelievable. It's really, really unbelievable down there. And this is the new Waldorf Astoria. They converted this into condos. Speaking of the Waldorf Astoria, the tallest building in downtown Miami, well, soon to be tallest building, is the Waldorf Astoria, and it's already 9 stories above ground. It's pretty cool. Check the logic. This is leave New York City and join us Florida boys. Well, my goal is hopefully within the next year I'll be able to just do the traditional snowbird split where I spend all of the winter in Miami and the spring and in the summer in New York. I don't know, it's just a really, really good quality of life. And the quality of life here is good, but I just don't really like the cold. I'm kind of over the cold. Let's just say that. Yeah, that's true, Dave. This is Miami may be your future, but you're always New York to me. I'm definitely always going to be in New York in some way, shape, or form, but probably mostly when it's good weather. I just feel it's a different culture down there. It's not like a super type A personality. Headstrong, very, very aggressive in a good way. That's kind of the personality here, particularly in the financial world. But it's just nice to go down to Miami. Everybody's a lot nicer. Not to say New Yorkers aren't nice. It's just different. I don't know how to explain it. It just seems people are happier. The sun's out. It's just a cool way of life. I don't know how to explain it. You just got to try it out for yourself, and I think you'll know what I mean. Maybe that's just the culture. There's a lot of people from Argentina in my community, and they're just really, really nice people. All right, this is the Seagram Building. Western Mass Dave, thank you for the Seagram Building book. I have it on my desk in my office. This is my favorite office building in all of New York City. Regardless, it's too humid for me in Miami in general, but would love to visit. You know, when in the winter, it's not humid at all. It was actually moderately cool when I was in Miami, and I think it's actually getting colder in the winters now, which is strange. When I left that night, it was supposed to be like 59, 60 degrees in Miami, which is pretty cold. That's actually a very, very cold 60 degrees for South Florida. So it gets chilly there in the winter. Adult says, have I watched Wicked? I have not watched Wicked. Jack Jackson says, any plans on the West Coast for living? Maybe. I'm not going to rule anything out. But in terms of like an investment to buy something, probably not. I think, I just don't have any expertise there. I know New York like the back of my hand. I mean, I hope I do. I mean, I walk enough miles in the city. And I'm starting to get to know South Florida, like my neighborhood, like the back of my hand. So I want to concentrate my investments in terms of real estate to New York City and Miami-Dade. But I think there's a ton of opportunities in California, particularly Southern California. So if anybody has that area of expertise, I think you should be shopping deals in Southern California, because there's a lot of mispriced and undervalued real estate in SoCal and Silicon Valley. San Francisco, Silicon Valley, Bay Area. Lots of underpriced and mispriced assets. Hey, Joey Coffee, what's up? Just wanted to pop in and say Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to all. Catch up soon. Hey, Joey, good to see you. And hopefully you and your family are doing well. And I hope business is doing well too. If you guys want to check out Joey's coffee shop, he's the founder of Cafe Ame. Ame, I believe. I think if you type !coffee in the chat, it'll drop his link. Cafe Ame. Now this is 425 Park. This is the temporary headquarters of Citadel Securities, but Citadel is also at 350 Park too. All right, everybody. Well, it's getting late and it's getting cold, and I must be on my way now. So if you enjoyed the stream, feel free to leave a like on the video. Click the subscribe button if you're new. And we will see you all right back here tomorrow at 8:45. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Just a quick reminder, we are going to be sending out our 2025 market outlook. So if you want to receive all of our free investing research, you can just scan the QR code on the screen, punch in your email, and it'll take you to our Substack. Next week, or at the end of this week, we're going to be posting our 2025 market outlook. You don't want to miss it. So Mohammed, appreciate it. Thank you very much. Steven, thank you. Jack Jackson, New England Crypto, Western Mass Dave. Chloe, Professor Dario, thank you very much. Dollar Bill, Brad's Brain, TD, Teresa Diaz, Austin City Limits, Andy, Alan, all of our moderators out. BLT Prod. We'll see you all in the next one. Take care.